There's a lot that we don't talk about, sometimes due to embarrassment, fear, insecurities. We neglect discussions about the most common parts of our lives, things we all deal with, sometimes every day. But on the Caffeinated Gypsy podcast, together, we'll break all of those taboos and talk open and honest about shared experiences. Knowledgeable people relating things you felt but never put into words. Parenting, sex, fitness, energy, anything to connect you to your authentic self, unfiltered. Now, the caffeinated gypsy herself, a free spirit, world traveler with a passion for fitness and exploring topics that others might avoid. Welcome to the Caffeinated Gypsy podcast. I'm Stephanie Cotton, your host. Thank you guys so much for being with me today. Today, I'm talking about the subject of positivity. There's this notion, and especially in my little realm, whatever you want to call it, the healing community or new age community or whatever, that everything needs to be looked at in a positive light and just throw some positivity behind it and everything will be better. Or if you're not aligning with what you want in your life, it's because you're not positive. So I just want to talk about that a little bit today because there were some turning points in my life and some things that happened that really helped change the way I looked at positivity. But before we get started on that, just a quick reminder, if you can head over to iTunes, subscribe, and give me a rating, that's super, super helpful. Also, I have a workshop coming up online, and it's the Awaken Your Root Chakra class. A lot of people have been asking for this, so I'm super stoked to be able to finally offer this, especially in an online setting, because now anybody can take this course. So if you head over to my website, stephanie-cotton.com, if you go to my classes, everything's sitting there for you. I do have an early bird registration that's going to run till the beginning of February. No, excuse me, not the beginning of February, because that's in like 2 days. I believe it runs till the 8th or the 9th of February. But double check my website. It is on there. And so, yeah, if you want to hop on there and take advantage of the early bird price, that would be awesome. And that's what I'm doing right now. All right, so let's talk about positivity. So I do want to preface before I start this, I'm a huge believer in the power of positive thinking. I just think that there's a lot of unrealistic expectations put behind this. And if you've been following my podcast, you've heard me kind of talk about this before. There was a book that really changed my mindset on positivity. And that book was called Unfuck Yourself by Gary Allen Bishop. And it's one of the books I recommend to everybody to read because he has a very just blunt, a realistic approach to how we approach life, especially in terms of positivity. I will tell you, if you're listening to me, you're probably fine with his book. He's very blunt. He uses the F word a lot, which I really appreciate. But he just doesn't sugarcoat it. And so for me, I really resonated with his message because when I first started learning about just how energy works and things like that, my first introduction to all that stuff was the book, The Secret. And so that book is all about the law of attraction. And that book teaches you that anything you're not manifesting in your life is due to your misalignment energetically. And a lot of that has to do with our thoughts. And I absolutely do agree with the fact that thoughts become our reality and we put out energetic vibration. But I feel like what was really missing from that book was that other key of we can't always control our thoughts, right? And, you know, there's moments in life where things are just fucking bad. Like things go to shit and it's impossible to smile and stay positive about it, right? And so for me, that really like fucked me up for a long time because anytime anything bad happened, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm like not in alignment. And I would be trying so hard to stay positive and keep my life in alignment. And then this, massive thing would happen and I would be like, what the hell? And then I started learning about underlying energetic patterns and things that we bring with us into this life and our ancestral history and trauma patterns. And I started realizing there was all these energetic patterns that were really on a subconscious level that I had no control over. And so for me, being a very controlled person, that just freaked me the fuck out. I'm not even going to lie to you. I was like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to stay positive if I have this underlying current of energy that I have zero control over? And so it led me to a lot of frustration in my life, but also in my healing process, because I couldn't push my healing any faster than it was going. And for me, my healing journey has been most of my adult life. And so it's the pace that it's going to be, which is very opposite of everything about me. I'm a very fast-paced person. I need things to happen now. I need to know when it's going to be done. And for me, healing has been something that like I have zero control over. And so I found it very frustrating that there was this premise that if things weren't going right in my life, it was because I wasn't being positive enough, because I really, really tried to be positive. And so when I read this book, it was like all the things I already knew, but it was almost like somebody reaffirmed it for me. And what he says is that positivity is absolutely important. But when we hit obstacles or we hit rough patches, it's okay to be like, this is shit. Like, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be mad about it. It's okay to be sad about it. The turning point, though, is that we don't stay stuck in that space, right? And so my view of positivity is that we're able to look at a bad situation, or we're able to be in the middle of complete chaos and shit in our life and go, okay, this really sucks. This feels really bad right now. I don't have to be okay with this. I don't have to positively, be positive and be happy, or I can be like, this is fucking bad. But what I'm also going to do is go, this is bad. What do I need to do to get out of this? How can I take steps in the direction I want to head? So for me, that really resonated with me in terms of positivity, and that being positive doesn't mean we always feel great. It means that we are moving in the direction that we want to go. And so I think it's important that people hear this message, because if you're anything like me, it can make you feel very defeated when you're not able to stay positive and when things kind of crumble down around you, right? I'm just sipping on my coffee, guys. And there's this almost judgmental aspect of it, like you're not doing something right in your life, or you're not in alignment, or you're not vibrating high enough. And sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It just has to do with the fact that we're human beings and shit happens. So I just want to offer that perspective. It's not a super long podcast today, but I want to put that out there for everybody. And if you're one of those people that maybe you've read that book, or you've read other things on the law of attraction, you can absolutely still attract everything you want in your life and have a bad day. You can absolutely attract everything you could imagine wanting in your life and be sad. I have attracted amazing, amazing things in my life. And some of those things have been attracted in the depths of depression. And, it happens. We're human. We're not always going to be positive. We just have to make sure that we're aligning ourselves with what we want in our life, and realizing that when bad things happen or things are difficult, that putting on a smile and pretending like everything's great when it's not isn't going to get us where we want to be either. We have to work towards what we want and give ourselves a little bit of grace. I say it a lot, but man, we're fucking hard on ourselves. And so it really comes down to acknowledging that you're a human being, and you can't always be positive, but we can't always move in the direction we want to go. And also just, if you're dealing with other people, or maybe you're even in the healing realm, or you're, a coach or whatever, just keep in mind that if you tell somebody to just be positive when they're having a really bad day, they're probably going to want to punch you in the face. So there's nothing worse than being in the middle of complete shit and people being like, well, you just have to be positive. So just, if you're in a healing profession, or you're a coach or whatever, just give people space to have that bad day, and maybe a gentle reminder of let's look at all the things that are working. How can we get you back on your path? How can we help align you? rather than, throwing some positivity or love and light or any of that crazy shit. Just being like, okay, like, I know you're having a really bad time. How can we move this in a positive direction for you? Because that's really what it's about. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening today, and I will be back soon.
For all the people who judge without knowing, just throw the peace, I tell them go.